So I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to disappear in a second. But before I do, I would like to introduce several people who are here in attendance. I would like to introduce Buzzy Chanovitz, who is our graduate deputy. So he's overseeing all the master's programs in the psychology department, which I'll explain in a second which one those are. We have in attendance also Professor Yu Gao. She is the director of the Experimental Psychology Master's Program. I myself am the director of the Industrial Organizational Psychology Master's Program. And the way that we have divided this up today is that I will start, Dr. Yu Gao will then present the experimental program, and then I will discuss a little more in detail the industrial organizational psychology programs. And after we're done with our presentation, you'll be able to ask questions, make comments, whatever you desire. Oh, I forgot one person. I forgot Ashanti Freeman, who is here as well in attendance. Sorry, Ashanti. She's working with us, hopefully, at least until the end of the semester. We're hoping longer, but we'll see. So Ashanti is in attendance here too. Thanks for coming, everybody.
And Jacoby.
Jacoby, yes, she's here. She's one of our prime examples of from undergrad. No, you were not here undergraduate, but from the admissions office directly into the IO program. And I think I saw Keisha also, or did I not? No? Okay. All right. Oh, one question is, are we going to take attendance, and are we going to do this through the chat? So what we would like you to do, please open up the chat and put in your name into the chat so that we know that you were here.
I'm actually taking attendance, Dr. Bronner, so
yeah.
I'm in attendance of students. And at the end of the presentation, I am going to release the poll.
Oh, okay. I don't know what poll, but should I know? But it's fine. I'll see. Okay. So, hold on, I need to do some arrangements here. Here we go. So, I don't know how many of you have been to Brooklyn College and have seen our beautiful campus. Of course, right now, everything is closed for us. Nobody is allowed to go onto campus. We hope that we will be able to go back there soon, but we at least wanted to show you a few pictures if you have never been to the campus. This is the campus in different seasons. This is a picture of the lily pond that is right next to our library, where you can find all kinds of books and periodicals that will be helpful for your studies. We also have access to the library fully online. So even if we're not able to go to the library is basically coming to us right now. And we're able to access anything we need through our computers and through our Brooklyn College accounts. And once you're a student here, if you're an undergraduate student here right now, then you will be able to know then you'll already know some of these things, but if you're not, then that's something to look forward to. Just briefly about the structure of the department and of the master's programs. You have to think of the organization of Brooklyn College as divided into different departments, and each department then has a sub-organization. And that sub-organization means that there is, of course, a chairperson that is sitting above. I didn't put this chairperson into this description of the structure of the department. The chairperson is basically the chief person, the chief executive officer of any department. They make most of the decisions, but then within each department, the subdivision is that there is the, particularly with regard to the master's programs, there's the graduate deputy, that's Bazi Chanovitz. We have two program assistants, Tonya Husi and Ashanti Freeman. I already introduced Ashanti. And then we have at Brooklyn College altogether 4 master's programs. It looks like IO is only one, but in fact we have 2 different programs there. I already introduced Dr. Yu Gao to you. Myself, my name is Elizabeth Browner. And then we have the 4th program is the mental health counseling program. That's directed by Dr. Greg Kuhlman and Dr. Rona Miles. They had their orientation for the mental health counseling on Tuesday, as far as I know, so you'd be a little late for that. However, if you're interested, then we can still get you in touch with respective people. So that's just as an overview over the programs and how they're structured, and we're continuing now with more details about the experimental psychology program, and Yuga will take over from here.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Yu Gao from Psych Department. I am the director of the experimental psychology program. So I will spend the next few minutes with you to introduce you about the program. So the first, can we move on to the next slide? So what is experimental psychology, right? So experimental psychology use scientific methods to improve our understanding of the mind, brain, and the behavior. So it's pretty much what you learned as an undergraduate student. However, compared to what you learned in the undergraduate program, the experimental psychology master program brings you the more in-depth knowledge of psychology, and also more research focused. Can we move on to the next slide? Yes. Yes. So because it's more research focused, a lot of students from this program, the graduate, would move on to research or focused or research oriented jobs or positions. A large percentage of the students graduated from the program move on to the doctoral program. So they use what they learned from this program, and including the knowledge and the methodology and also the research skills they learn from mentors in the department when they are doing their own research projects, to put them into their application package. So it's a big plus for their application, so that they can get into the very good PhD program to continue their research career. In addition to doctoral programs, there are also positions like research staff or project coordinator. That's also some of the students go to, that's the positions. In addition to academic research areas, there are other fields such as private sectors, government, healthcare, and testing organizations. Those are also the areas that they may need graduate from our programs. Can we move on? Thank you. So what does the curriculum of this program look like, right? If you enter the program, what do you expect to do? So basically you need to get 36 credits in total before you can get the degree. Among these 36 credits, students are required to take 12 credits of the required courses, including statistics, research methods, and professional seminar course. And then beyond these 12 credits, you have the remaining credits coming from elective courses based on students' interest and also the expertise in the department of the psychology, the faculty members. Students also have the options to choose either thesis track or non-thesis track. For those who choose the thesis track, they also are required to take 9 credits of the independent research credits, meaning that they will spend a significant amount of time with researchers or professors in the department to conduct their own research project, which gonna be leading to their thesis eventually, and hopefully to help with their application to PhD programs. All the students around the 3rd semester of their time, they're gonna have to take the comprehensive exam. In this exam, there will be a committee who's gonna evaluating their work, and they might need to do the written portion and also oral defense version of that. So after they pass the comprehensive exam, and then they move on. And the students usually, well, I'll stop here. But that's required capstone experience from across all the master programs at the Brooklyn College. Can we move on to next slide? Thank you. So this slide shows what one of the possible timeline for students who might be thinking about taking the research or thesis track. So for example, in the 1st semester of year 1, students will take Stats 1, which is one of the required courses, and a professional seminar course. During this 1st semester is more like, for students to get familiar with the program, get a sense about the workload and the culture of the department. And more importantly, we want the students to get connected with the faculty members who is doing, different kinds of research, and to get a sense about who's doing what and what might be their interest. And then move on to the next semester, 2nd semester. They are taking Stats 2, which is advanced stats compared to Stats 1, and then research method design course, so that they learn the methodologies people use in psych research. And maybe that will be really helpful for their own design of their own project. And for students who are going to do the research track, they are also encouraged to take the independent reading course in the 2nd semester, so that they started to work with one of the professors in the department and start to read the literature in that field, so that they can get a sense about what might be the theories involved and what has been done in that field, and what might be the remaining questions that might be interesting to the students. And also they are able to conduct a study under the supervision of that faculty member to address that question. Moving on to the 3rd semester, I mentioned that our students usually around this time take the comprehensive exam. And then in addition to that, they take the research proposal course, where they learn how to write research proposal, which is a very critical skill that is necessary for PhD or the research oriented positions. And some of the other non-research oriented positions also require that too. And during that time, they also need to work with the faculty or the professor in their lab to get a lot of more research experience or hands-on experience on research. And by the time that they finish the 4th semester, usually that's when most of the students would finish the program or finish the 36 credits. They also, the last semester, they do their thesis, and if necessary, they can do the independent research courses with the professors. So can we move on to the next slide? In terms of the elective courses, because the faculty members in the department has a wide range of the research interest in the different areas. And therefore, we have a wide range of the courses that might be available for students to choose, such as psychology of emotions, thought and language, history of psychology, comparative psychology, cognitive development, social psychology, and psychopathology. Those are just a few examples. Each semester, we will offer some courses among the list of maybe other courses, depending on the availability of the faculty members and interest of the student body. Next slide, please.
I think we're done.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. So we're continuing with the IO programs. IO is the abbreviation for Industrial Organizational Psychology. I will continue to say IO rather than Industrial Organizational Psychology. We have two programs, as I already mentioned. Personnel and Human Resources is one of them, and Group Processes and Organizational Behavior is the second one. When we try to understand what IO psychology is, the APA defined it as the scientific study of human behavior in organizations and the workplace. This specialty focuses on deriving principles of individual, group, and organizational behavior and applying knowledge to the solution of problems at work. So we're trying to understand, why do problems at work materialize? Why do we encounter such problems? What's the nature of such problems, particularly if they're problems that have something to do with humans and how humans think or how humans interact with each other, which is pretty much everything that is happening in organizations. So everything is really based on human behavior in organizations. And we as psychologists are studying whatever is happening in organizations. And we're trying also to develop methods and strategies and interventions that can help solve these problems. Employment opportunities are similar to experimental psychology, basically all over the place. You can find employment in the academic sector, so that would be research assistants or professor, project coordinator, research staff. You could go on to a PhD program and study even more in-depth IO psychology and become a professor that way. The private sector is full of opportunities. Almost every organization, particularly all organizations that have more than 50 employees, usually have a human resource department. And that's one of the big employers of IO psychologies and psychologists. Consulting firms are similar employment opportunities, assessment centers. Coaching is a big area, executive coaching in particular, where executives in higher level executives in organizations have their individual coaches. Those could be people who are hiring you as a freelancer, or you could be employed full-time by an organization. And there are such things as ergonomics and workplace design. How is your workplace set up? How is your computer set up? All of these things are really a matter of IO psychology, because we're studying also how people interact with machines and how this interaction can be improved. The government is a huge employer. There are human resource management departments at all levels of government. There is also consulting. Particularly program evaluation is a very important sector that we also teach in our courses. Occupational stress management, job evaluation, those are different examples for what you could be doing in government. The public sector, again, similar and different in some cases. particularly in when it comes to I don't know, organizations such as universities or nonprofit organizations, you would encounter opportunities that would allow, for instance, engagement such as change management, training people how to communicate properly, and so on. And consulting and coaching, which could be freelance jobs or could be full-time positions within organizations, and engaging there in training and development or occupational health, for instance. So there are a lot of opportunities, and will help you search for different possibilities that you can use to search for the specific jobs that are available. Now, when it comes to the program itself, in order to get the degree, you need to take 36 credits, which is 12 courses. For both programs, we have 8 required courses and 4 elective courses. There is also a requirement of a comprehensive examination. That's a New York State requirement. All master's programs at Brooklyn College have this milestone experience or capstone experience. We administer the comprehensive examination in January of your second year, after you have registered for your 24th credit. So this is almost an automatic thing. There are exceptions, of course, to this, but most students take it after their third semester. We have the option of writing a master's thesis, but we are not requiring a master's thesis. So that is a possibility, but it's only recommended if you are thinking about continuing with your studies and then going on into a PhD program, then it makes sense. Otherwise, it makes more sense to take courses and to get more practical and content experience with those courses. As I already said, there are shared courses that the 2 programs have. 5 courses are shared. 3 courses are specialization courses for each of the programs. And then there is a possibility of taking 4 electives in addition to that. We have here the sequence in which students are taking courses, and I have the sequence lined out for both programs. I'm starting with personnel and human resources, and then we'll have the parallel version to this with the group processes and organizational behavior program. So in your first semester, you're taking 2 courses that are required courses. We would like you to take at least 2 courses, up to 3. We do not recommend taking more than 3 courses in your first semester. But taking these 2 courses, concepts and methods, and the individual in your organization, they build the foundation that you will need in order to then continue with the program and be successful with the further courses. It continued on its own. That was not intentional. The third course that you could take is an experiential seminar. There are 2 different possibilities that you could take, or instead of taking one of those, you could take an elective. We always have, I mentioned this here, winter intersession, summer session 1 and summer session 2. There's always electives that you can take during winter intersession or during summer, particularly if you're taking only 2 courses during the fall and spring semester. It's recommended that you're taking an additional course during the winter intersession and summer to stay on track in order to finish within the 2 years. In your second semester, you would do the personnel and human resources program quantitative techniques, that's statistics. Statistics is very important for this program as well, because quantitative skills are really the most important skills that people are asking for, employers are asking for when you start to work. The second required course for personnel and human resources is training and development. That is a specialization course that you are taking then in the second semester. So basically in the second semester is where your specialization starts. And your third course could again be, if you have not already taken the experiential seminar in the first semester, you could take it in the second semester, or instead you can take an elective. You should be done with this experiential requirement. This is a required course. You should be done with it in your first year. That is highly recommended. Moving on to your third semester, in personnel and human resources, you're taking the research methods and program evaluation course at this time. This is also a required course, a general for both programs. And you will be taking the human resource management applications, which is in a way a continuation of the individual and the organization. The individual and the organization builds the foundation for the human resource management applications. This is a specialization course for the personnel and human resources. And your third course, again, could be here an elective, or you could have taken something in the summer intersession, in the summer session 1 or 2, or you could take it in the winter intersession after your third semester. Now, this is also where your comprehensive exam will be scheduled, usually at the beginning of the fourth semester, the first or second day of the spring semester of your second year. That's where we're doing the comprehensive exam. It consists of generally analyzing a case study. You'll have experience with analyzing a case study by that time because you will have done it in all of your, or most of your courses. And in your last semester, this is the last required course for the personnel and human resources program, the job analysis and employee selection course, which is one of the most important courses in this program, because this is what you're going to be doing in personnel and human resources. You're going to do a lot of job analysis and employee selection, and job analysis and employee selection are basically the basis for all other functions of human resource management. So that's a really, really important course. If you have not completed the 36 credits at that point yet, then you can take 2 more electives to complete the 36 credits and then graduate in May. And hopefully our next graduation will be at the Barclay Center again, as we had them for several years before we had to do only virtual graduation. So this is it for the Personnel and Human Resources program, and I will give you just the highlights for the Group Processes and Organizational Behavior program, because there are a lot of similarities. The first semester looks exactly the same, because those are the shared required courses. Instead of statistics, in the second semester, Group Processes and Organizational Behavior takes research and program evaluation, and then statistics in the third semester. We found out that doesn't really matter which way you take it first, you always have an advantage with the second course that you're taking. So it's always easier to do the second course after doing the first course, and it totally doesn't matter which way you do one, the first or the other first. The specialization course for Group Processes and Organizational Behavior is here, Organizational Structure and Design. That's in your second semester. That's a critical course also for the Group Processes Organizational Behavior program, because it really helps you understand how organizations are structured and how we are designing organizations in terms of who is working with whom, and how are the tasks related to each other. And the content, somehow my slides are automatically advancing. The continuation of the organizational structure and design course is the organizational diagnosis and consultation course. So once you understand organizational structure, now you can diagnose what's wrong with organizations, and you will learn how to consult in those organizations and how to improve, how to make real improvements for the problems that an organization is dealing with. And finally, in the last semester, you're going to be taking a course called Psychology of Small Groups. Because this program focuses on group processes and organizational behavior, this is also a very critical course for you to understand what is happening between people and how do people interact with each other, because this will help you understand how to solve conflict between colleagues and between employees in an organization. So that's the general overview over the 2-year succession of the different courses that you can take or that you have to take. We have a number of electives, and they're also changing. Just as in experimental psychology, we always add something more. There is a selection of these courses that is being offered every semester so that you have some variation. At some point, you'll be able to take some or several of them. Now, as for how this entire programs are organized, we are following a cohort model. This means you're starting with a group of students all at the same point in time. You are all starting in the fall semester. We don't have admissions for the spring semester, and you are then taking courses together. So that has a huge advantage because you'll be able to develop friendships and to develop collaborations, and you'll be able to network from the very start in your career. You are building relationships here that will last then for a long time. A lot of our graduates, former graduates, know each other and have collaborated with each other, have helped each other with resumes, or have helped each other with getting jobs. So the goal is that you complete in 2 years. This assumes that you're a full-time student. That means you need to take 2 classes per each fall and spring semester, and you can take those additional classes during the intersessions and during the summer. So on average, you have to get about 6 courses per year in order to finish within the 2 years. Now, not everybody finishes within 2 years. There's always extenuating circumstances, but that's really our goal, to be done with it in 2 years, because then it's just taking too long and you're going to be too exhausted and too tired. Recommendable to really go for it and get through everything. One question is, when will you have classes? We have differences between the experimental program where classes are usually taught during the daytime. Do you want to say a little bit something more specific about when classes are taught during?
Well, usually it's starting from the midday, like around 11 o'clock to about 6 o'clock. Because most of the students are full-time students and the faculty members are full-time faculty members. So that's the daytime we have, and we don't really offer courses during the weekend.
Okay, thank you. For IO psychology, you will be taking classes exclusively during the evening. So all of our classes are taught Mondays through Thursdays from 6:30 till 9:15, so 1 class per evening. And it's necessary to do it this way because all of our students are employed either part-time or full-time. So if you have a daytime job, then it's very easy to do your daytime job and then complete this program. because we're an entirely evening program. We do offer some courses on Sundays, and we offer some courses, particularly during the winter intersession, because that's a very, very condensed period of time, just 3 weeks of classes. We have sometimes days when you will have to take off 1 or 2 days of work, but other than that, we're a full evening program. There are different levels of full-time. You're considered full-time when you're enrolled for 9 credits per semester. For international students, it's also the same. Unfortunately, for tuition purposes, it's not 9 credits, it's 12 credits. So only after you register for the 12th credit, the next 13th and so on credits will be included in your full-time tuition for in-state students. And for loan purposes, you need to be registered for 6 credits. So that's across both programs. And here is the graduate bulletin, where you get a lot more information about the courses that we're teaching and the background and tuition and so on. It's updated every fall semester, and you're able to look up all kinds of specifics for programs, program requirements, but also general information about Brooklyn College. We will make these slides available to you so that you're able to access the links as well. With regard to the experimental program, as we already said, all faculty are full-time faculty. They're research active. They have active research labs. They're publishing. So it's a great way to get research experience and to work in a laboratory with a faculty member and to learn how research is done, because that's really the goal of this program, so that you get more experience there. For IO psychology, some of our faculty are full-time faculty at Brooklyn College, who also conduct research and have active research labs. But some of our faculty are practitioners. And that's important to know for you, because the degree that we're providing is really an applied degree. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be a practitioner. You're going to be knowledgeable in the scientific method, because what we want to turn you into is a scientist practitioner, that you understand the science, but at the same time, you're able to translate and apply the science to the workplace, and that therefore be scientist practitioners. So part of our faculty, particularly in the second half of your studies, are focusing on practice. Their full-time jobs are in consulting, in coaching, in HR. They have all kinds of experience in practice, and that's what they're bringing to the classroom. So for us, it's really important to find that combination and that perfect match between having the scientific method taught to you, but also getting the practice experience. Brooklyn College and our programs are all accredited by the Middle States Commission on Higher Education. The last evaluation was in 2019. The next one will be in 2027. So we're good for quite a while. We have never had difficulties passing that examination and that evaluation. So we're in a good place. Now, how do you apply? There are program requirements that apply to both of our actually all 3 of the programs that are presented here. You are expected to hold a bachelor's degree. At the time of your application, you don't have to have your bachelor's degree completed, but you have to be in the process. And by the time you're admitted and you start your studies, you must have completed your bachelor's degree. It's expected that you have a GPA of 3.0 or better. Now, that's the minimum requirement. Usually there is a higher average of which that our applicants and students that are being admitted to the program bring to the table. Currently in IO psychology, the average is between 3.4 and 3.5, but average always means that there is a range. Then there is a minimum of 12 credits in content courses, meaning you should have had Intro to Psych. If you took something like Intro IO, it's a great thing. If you took experimental psychology and research, so research methods, experimental psychology, and statistics, those are actually not considered content courses. Those are considered the more formal courses, and they're required as well. And in those courses, there's no grade requirements, minimum grade requirements for the other psychology credits. The higher the better, obviously. But for statistics and research methods, you have to have at least a B or better. Now, if your research methods or statistics courses are a little bit far away and they were not that great, there's always the possibility to retake them for undergraduate credit and then get a better grade and then still be accepted into the program. In terms of the process, we have a submission date by March 1st. We want you to submit a professional statement. You should explain what draws you to this field, experimental or IO psychology. How do you see yourself as a professional in this field? So it's good to really have an understanding of what kinds of jobs are available. We would like to see 2 letters of recommendation. We prefer that they're academic letters of recommendation. That means that they're written by professors who have worked with you. If your bachelor's degree is just so long ago that you're absolutely certain that none of your professors will remember you, then have an employer or supervisor write the letter for you, but ask them to write about their assessment of your success in a graduate program. So how will you be as a learner? How will you be going back into studying and into learning? Because what we want to see is what are your prospects to succeed in this program and to successfully accomplish and complete the program, so that you can then also be a successful practitioner. We require the bachelor's degree transcript. As I said, if it's not complete yet, then submit whatever transcript you have. And then before you get admitted to the program, the admissions office will request another, a completed transcript. And we would like you to submit a cover sheet. If you would like to write a cover letter in addition to everything, that's free, but it's not a requirement. On March 1st, the admissions committees are starting to review all the information, and the notifications about admissions are being sent out on a rolling basis. So they're not sent out all at the same time at the end of the semester, but as our applications come in, starting March 1st, we're starting to review them and then send out acceptance notices. This is a link for application and where to apply. And you can definitely get more information on this from the website, but also from our trusted admissions people who are here in the meeting today. Just a little note about a few other things that we offer at Brooklyn College. We have the Magner Center. It offers a lot of programs and services that you can review and that you should take advantage of. They have connections with a lot of different companies. A small number of them are shown here on this slide, but the website provides you with a lot more information. You can get coaching, you can get someone to sit in with you on a mock interview when you have an interview coming up. And they have stipend awards. So if you have a internship that is not compensated, then you can apply for a Magner Center stipend that will give you at least a little bit of financial support for that internship. Speaking of financial aid and scholarships, there is a little bit information, and particularly the link to information here that you should review. It's all on our website, so all of this links to different places on our website. There are different kinds of Brooklyn College scholarships. This is where you would find more information about them. And then the Department of Psychology also has some scholarships, but it's not a lot. So don't think of it in terms of a full scholarship. It's really just a little bit support that helps with paying the bills. So what I would like to show you, if I'm able to manage this, is what did I do? Did I stop I stopped screen sharing instead of doing this. This is what I was meaning to do. Let's see whether this works. It should. So these are just 3 of our former graduates who are giving you career advice.
My name is John Buen, and I am currently working with the New York City Health and Hospital Association. I would say that no matter what you're doing, where you are, it's to grind, to continue grinding. Even if you're working at a retail store, just to get, to go to school and pay for your bills, eventually while you're grinding, it's all going to pay off.
So next is Teresa.
My name is Teresa. I am currently working at a healthcare startup company called City Block Health. So I work in people operations and I work on diversity, equity, and inclusion. But my background is really around training and development. My best tip, apart from getting all the skills, all the knowledge, all the competencies, network, network, and network. It's all about who you know, but you really have to take that initial step to make sure that you know some valuable people who can put you in the places that you want to be.
Okay. And last but not least.
Hi, my name is Kelly Lindau, and I work at Ascend Hire. I would say to definitely learn how to talk to people and how to read people, and also to make sure that you have a lot of energy, because you definitely need to have a lot of energy to be a recruiter. I've personally placed many Brooklyn College students in different roles and varying types, and so I would definitely say that the feedback has been that Brooklyn College students are very professionally minded, they're sharp, they're driven, and they come from a great school.
All right, and oops, where is it? So that's it from us, and I'm stopping to share now. And do we have any questions?
Elizabeth, I saw 2 questions on the chat.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to read them so I don't have to
Sure.
search?
Yes, it's at the bottom. So there was from Grace. She has a question. What if I work for myself? I don't have an employer. I graduated in year 2000. Do I have a colleague writing a recommendation?
That's a good question. I think a colleague would be good. If you are working for yourself, I wonder if you have customers, whether a customer could write something for you. Anyone who can say something about you and your ability to learn new stuff. That's really what this is about. What is it that will tell us that you are going to be successful with learning and with studying. Now, I totally understand that it's tough to find someone. I would not recommend having a relative or a close friend. Choose someone who you know from your work context that really knows you in a professional way. So that's my best recommendation.
Good. So our next question, I graduated from Simon. I graduated in 2008 with a bachelor degree. How can I find out what credits count towards prereqs?
I'm not sure. So the prereqs, that means, Buzzy, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I assume that's a reference to
The
the
fact sheet.
courses that they're expected to take in order to be eligible to apply, like statistics, research method.
Oh.
And I assume that what you could do is send an informal copy of your transcript directly to one of us for that.
Yeah, depending on which program you're interested in. If for IO, then send it to me. And if for experimental, then send it to Dr.
me.
Yugao.
Yeah, so Simon, I saw your reply, you said experimental psychology. So that's what you are interested in. You can send me an email, either informal transcript with all the courses, or you can just do in an email text describing the courses you have taken. I can tell you which might count, okay? So the next question, Lisa Roscoff. For experimental psychology program, my interest is in animal behavior research. Do you have any electives that cover this? And also, there are research opportunities in this field? That's a great question. We do have at least 3 different professors who are doing their research using animal models. We have a faculty member who's doing research on animal behaviors using conditioning model. We have faculty members who's doing, I believe, the addiction research using also animals and also cognition. So yes, we do have at least 3 faculty members are doing animal research, and they usually would have opportunities to work with those one of those professors. Yes, Buzzy, you want to say something?
Yeah, if I can add, when you're just using the word animals,
right.
where the animals, there are at least a couple of labs that use rats, the rat labs, and
Right.
and in the past, before COVID happened, we have someone who does research with other forms of animals in the wild, like birds, parrots, tracking their nests around the college.
Octopus,
And-
crabs.
Right, and that person also has marine animals in the lab, like octopuses. But unfortunately, when COVID hit, those animals had to be sacrificed. So they'll have to restart everything once that's over. Once COVID's over, they'll have to restart those animals.
Okay, so I don't know this person, Jean Nye Mercurial. If I'm interested in both programs, experimental psych and industrial psych, what would be deciding factor? Are the programs very similar?
No, they're very, very different. Now, what is possible, so the real difference, the deciding factor is what is it that you want to do with your life? That really is the deciding factor. Would you like to conduct research in some of the fields that Dr. Gao described? Or do you want to go into practice, and in practice then work with people, do consulting, or work in a human resource department? That's really the difference here. Now, there is a way, if you're interested in research and you're interested in IO psychology, you can also continue on with the PhD in IO psychology and then do research for a living. So you could end up as a like for instance, Dr. Yugao took took something, it's not the same, but basically took something like the experimental program and went into her research area, which is psychopathology, right? And
Yes, neuroscience and yeah.
Neuroscience, right. I took courses and my program was focusing on organizational psychology. We ended up in the same workplace. We're just teaching different things. We're just researching different things, but the kinds of things that we're doing in terms of the instruments that we're using, that we're teaching, that we're conducting research, that's pretty much the same. So it really depends on your interest and what your goal is. If you want to send me an email, I can direct you to some resources that will help you with kind of narrowing down where you really wanted to go.
Great. So Roberto Lopez, what happens when I cannot provide a letter of recommendation from a professor?
So then you would provide a letter of recommendation from an employer or someone that's working with you. Do not ask parents or siblings or your best friend. It should really be someone who knows you from a professional context. And you will ask them to emphasize in their letter your prospect of learning. How will you be as a graduate student? Will you be successful in advanced studies? That's really what they should think about when they write the letter for you. But make it a professional letter, that it's not someone who is your best friend and you hang out with.
So the next question is from Grace Kim. Will there be a Zoom meeting highlighting faculty members? Unfortunately, I don't think there will be, but there is a website that you can go to at Brooklyn College from Psych Department. If you just Google that, the website has a lot of information about the members in their research area. So what kind of work they do, the publications they did. So that should give you a lot of information in terms of the topics, the research areas that's covered by the faculty members.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, from Lin Zuo, what if I don't meet the minimum requirement for GPA? So you're saying the GPA might be below 3.0. In that case, I mean, you're gonna have to provide a really strong evidence suggesting that the low GPA was due to a certain reason, and that whatever challenges you had, you already overcome that. You already you won't. So the GPA should not be an issue for you to become a successful learner as a graduate student. And the other materials and documentations, you still need to collect them for the application. So the admission committee will evaluate the case. Do you have anything to add, Elizabeth?
No, there is, what we have, one option that you could do if your psychology courses are showing a higher GPA, then calculate your psychology GPA, because in the end, what we care about is that your grades in psychology were good. If your all across GPA is low because you got bad grades in chemistry, we don't really care that much about it. I mean, that's not what you're going to be doing here, or
right.
Biology or so.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
No, I would suggest to calculate the GPA of those courses that will be relevant for this program. If you didn't take that many psychology courses, then sociology is related. If you took business courses, calculate the GPA for those courses, and that will focus on that. And having, as Dr. Gao said, having an explanation for why that is. There's always some reason why. It's not just that you were lazy. You had reasons why that happened. Don't go too much into your soul. That's not what we want. We just want some kind of rationale for what happened and how to explain this.
I can give you one example that we saw that's a possibility that for a student who have a relatively low average GPA, but if you look at the transcript in detail, you realize that the low GPA mainly coming from the first and second semester of their
Right.
4 years. After that, they improved significantly. They have really good GPAs later on. So you can basically explain that in the statement, saying that it was mainly something happened in the first year. Maybe I just was not really focused, or I didn't really put my heart in there. But I later realized I should work harder to get what I wanted. So I did improvement in the GPA. So we do look at that too.
So we're really looking at the entire picture. We're not just looking at the number, and if that number is not correct, then you're out. That's not how we do this. We're really trying to look at every single component of your application. And if everything fits together, then one thing can be a little weak. You don't have to be strong in everything. The stronger you are, the easier the decision is, but there is always ways to compensate if one thing is not perfect.
The next question, for admission, is a GRE general or psych subject test weight? We don't require GRE scores.
So we don't require GRE scores at all. We haven't required them in a long time. And now a lot of colleges and universities are hopping onto our trend. We started the trend because Buzzy started the trend, because we don't see GREs as a good predictor of future success. And there have been huge problems with GREs. A lot, and particularly now with the difficulties with administering the tests, most colleges and universities have actually decided to not use the GRE scores, even if they keep requiring them there, and they said that they're not looking at them. But we are not requiring that at all.
So from Roberto Lopez, I would like to apply for the Master in IO Human Resources, but due to COVID, I'm not working in the field anymore. How can I get a professional letter of recommendation?
Well, so the same thing, I don't know your environment and who else could be possible, but if you have previous employers, former co-workers, anyone who knows you from a professional environment could be helpful. If your degree is not too long ago, then it's worthwhile contacting your former professors, particularly if you worked with them more closely, if they know you better. Then I would definitely send them an email and remind them in which course you were, and see whether they can write. So I remember students from 2003, and I know that many of my colleagues do as well. So it's definitely worth a try, even if it's been a while.
From Raven Perlot, is there preference for BC graduates, undergraduates for admission into the IO program?
In terms of preferential treatment, no, because it would be just unfair. The point that I would like to make, however, is that having gotten your BA at Brooklyn College has prepared you most likely extremely well for our programs. We have very strong students. Our undergraduate program is very strong, and you're likely to, unless you slept through the entire 4 years, then that's different. But then I guess you wouldn't be here if that were the case. So it's not that you got your BA at Brooklyn College and you're automatically in. It's the same requirements apply to everyone.
This from Chelsea. For experimental psychology, do students typically have internships during their thesis track? Are there programs in the thesis track where students are paired up with the mentor or person in the field they are interested in, or are students encouraged to reach out to professors? No, we don't do internships usually in experimental psychology. But as you mentioned, for students who are interested in thesis track, we do encourage them to reach out to professors in the department as early as possible, hopefully in the first semester when they enter the program. Specifically, in the first semester, they will take a professional seminar course. During that course, they will have a lot of opportunities to interact with the faculty members in the department, because they will be invited to give research talks to students so that you get more knowledge about who's doing what and what might interest you that you want to continue working with that professor in terms of the thesis. So there's no paired up, but we do encourage students to do that. Yes, Bazi?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that maybe there's a misused word in the question. Internships are more appropriate as a word to describe applied work out in the field outside of Brooklyn College, whereas what I think the person was asking about was applied work in a laboratory within the field. And yes, there's a lot of that, and there are specific courses called independent research, which the person would be doing with faculty that they might meet in their very first semester in the professional seminar that you were talking about.
Thank you, Bazi. So is that right? I don't know, Chelsea. So if you refer, yes, go ahead, Chelsea.
Oh, kind of. It's kind of right. For the internships, I meant that do average students, do they usually have an internship outside of the program while they're on the thesis track? And also, is there a mentorship program in the track where they're paired up with a professor? So I meant both.
So again, what kind of internship do you mean here?
Like an outside internship. Like, does an average student, in addition to their courses, have an outside internship? Like, for example, like at a different lab, like at a lab, or like,
Oh, no, usually what you would, maybe this is what you mean. We're all maybe confused because of the word internship. What you would be doing in the experimental program is really work on research with a mentor in our department. Some students do work with mentors and professors in other departments. We had some students who worked with professors either at the CUNY Graduate Center or at NYU or at Columbia, but the core work is really at Brooklyn College. And the mentorship and the work that you would be doing is really focused on research. So internship, the term is usually meant in a practical sense that this is practical work experience. Now, if research is a practical work experience, then you'll get this on site. So where everybody is doing actively research and you would be then working with research faculty in our department. I hope that answers it.
Yeah, thank you for clearing it up.
I see the next question from Grace. I only took one intro to psych in undergraduate. Do I need to take a couple classes before applying? Yes, please. You need to take more psych courses. And we do look at the transcript by the time you do apply, although maybe you are in the process of taking those courses when you are applying to the program, that is fine. But we definitely would like you to take more courses. One intro is not sufficient.
And particularly what is required and never waived are the research methods or experimental psychology undergraduate courses and the statistics course undergraduate. So those are the two courses that are absolutely required. They're never waived. And students are able to take them usually up until the summer before they start in the program. So at this point, you would still have the spring and the summer to complete at least a few of those extra courses. Where in IO psychology, we're a little more flexible with the other courses. If you don't have the full 12 credits, we would like to see that you took an IO psychology intro course at the undergraduate level. But as I said, there's never, ever a waiver of the experimental and statistics courses.
Chelsea again, experimental psych question. Do you know what kind of studies, social psychology research students have gone on to do?
Good for you, social psychology. Never mind. Elizabeth, you can speak for social psychology.
Well, the students who have completed the program, most of them then went on to PhD programs. We have one who went into a PhD program at the Clemson Graduate School in California, who's working with one of the top
Claremont
researchers. Claremont, yes.
Clemson's in South Carolina.
Oh, right, Claremont. So they're either going into research and they're then conducting research professionally in either in companies for instance, some are in advertising, some are in fields such as consulting also, where it's really focused on conducting research and doing this. And others go into the academic track and continue then to become professors. For a social psychology, there is a huge application area, particularly that's something I would recommend, focusing on research methods and statistics. Psychologists are usually the best equipped to conduct large studies, particularly Google. We had several people go into Google and work for Google and do research there for Google. There are a lot of possibilities there, but it's really a research focus that you would go in for.
I see at least 2 people were asking the differences between master program and PhD. So which one should I apply? I saw 2 people are asking similar questions.
So my recommendation is all of the above. You want to have a plan A. If you're thinking about applying for a PhD program, then go straight for it. Don't wait until you have your master's. You do not need a master's degree to complete a PhD or to get accepted into a PhD program, with very, very few exceptions. Hofstra University is such an exception. If you wanted to get a PhD at Hofstra University, you have to have a master's degree before you get accepted. But otherwise, all other PhD programs take you directly with a bachelor's degree. if you're thinking about doing this, just go for it. If you don't apply, you cannot get accepted. Only if you apply, you have a chance. And don't let anyone tell you that you don't have a chance to start with. It doesn't matter what everybody else thinks, just go for it. Do the best application you can do and send it in. But have a plan B and apply for a master's program as well, or two, just so that you have another option to fall back to in case that doesn't work out right away. But don't let anyone tell you that it's not gonna work or anything. And you do not need a master's for most PhD programs.
So I want to add one thing that we have seen many students like this, that they got into the master program. One of the reasons is that they tried the PhD program, but they were not competitive enough because PhD programs are difficult to get in. They require GRE scores, they require high GPA, and more importantly, they require research experience. Many students who did not have master degree or who didn't really do any of the or much of the research experience as undergraduate students are really hard to get into PhD program. So they turn to master programs during these 2 years. They take courses, and more importantly, they gain a lot of research experience that can help to build up their resume so they can be more competitive when they apply to the PhD program. So you are going to have to think about whether you are competitive enough. So as Elizabeth is recommended, have plan A and plan B. So if you're not quite sure, or even people are very confident, though I'm really competitive, I have a lot of stuff I can say, but still having a plan B is not bad choice, right?
By the way, I put 2 links into the chat that you can open up. One goes directly to our graduate programs webpage. That's the second one that I put in, and the first one I put in goes to the psychology site where you can review all faculty who are teaching and doing research in our department. And that's basically your presentation of different faculty and what they're doing. You'll see the publications that they're doing, that's their research. You can review and read some of those publications just to see what they're doing and whether that is something that could interest you. So it's a good thing to review that page in any case and see who's teaching. We have really outstanding faculty from basically all over the world in our program.
Okay, I saw 3 more questions. Chelsea, I am looking for a way to satisfy my passion for teaching and social psych research. Do you have any recommendations on steps to take for students to go on to teaching in the future, teaching in social psych?
Apply for a PhD program. Apply for the experimental program as well, just in case you don't have the research experience. If you do have research experience as an undergraduate, by all means, search for the good social psychology programs. We have an excellent one at the Graduate Center. It's called the Basic and Applied Social Psychology Program. They're starting with applications very, very soon. So that's something to get started on right away. The application deadlines for PhD programs, just in general, are much sooner than for master's programs. So master's programs always are later. You can take your time with that, but most of the PhD programs have application deadlines. Some of them October, November, December 15 at the latest, very rare cases January, but most of them are the year prior to getting started in the program. So get started on that right away because if you want to go into research and you want to become a professor, then that's your only way to do. So the alternative way is to get a master's degree and try to do adjunct teaching, which would also give you teaching, but that has no job security, and it's quite miserably paid, unfortunately. So it's not really a career to strive for. It's always a fallback option, particularly for short term, but for long term, the main thing for you to do is to get as much research experience as you can, and then get, if you can, also publications. So find people to work with, mentors who work with, who will lead you up to publishing the studies that you conduct with them. And one thing to say about the research in general and working with faculty, we all have our specializations. Every faculty member got their PhD in a certain area, and it's usually for a general area. My PhD is in IO psychology, but my specialization, my research is really in a much narrower field. So what is much better than coming up with your own research idea is to ask a faculty member whether you can work in their lab and collaborate with them, and they will have different projects that they will suggest where you will be much more successful than if you follow with your research idea. You can still do that later when you're a professor and when you're defining and designing your own career. And you'll have plenty of time to do that. It's not like your interests don't matter, but once you're in social psychology, I would just, or in any kind of field, just go with the research that the faculty member who accepted you to mentor you, that they will conduct, because you will learn much more that way and you will be on publications. There are now, unfortunately, undergraduate applicants with bachelor's degrees who are already have publications on their record. And I say, unfortunately, it's just because these requirements are getting higher and higher and higher. And it's not like you have to have that, but it's definitely an advantage. So if you're doing the experimental masters, can get a few publications out, that will get you on a good track to get into the PhD program if it doesn't work right away. But again, don't despair at this point because it all sounds like it's too much and I don't have publications. Just apply for the PhD programs. And then if they reject you, then reject. Being rejected is always hard, but you'll grow with every rejection. If you think that we never had any rejections, I don't even know. I can't count how many rejections I had in my life of programs, of papers, of all kinds of things. So this is how we learn more stuff, and go for the thing that you want to go for.
Okay, so from Roberto, what is the best way to be successful in this master program, such on how many classes to take, the full-time or part-time? Well, I guess the short answer would be as soon as possible, and maybe full-time would be the best because you can put your full effort in the program, taking classes, and again, it depends on which program. If research is required, then you should spend more time on research project, so that getting the publication, for example, would be the big plus in your application to PhD program. And if it's an IO program, then taking classes in addition to the practitioner kind of work, right? So that will be much better compared to the part-time schedule. Of course, we understand that for some students, it's not possible to do the full-time, but really.
So what we like to see is that you take at least 2 classes each semester. So each fall semester and each spring semester. And if you then take another class in the winter intersession, there you're already at 3 classes on average per semester. Then if you take another 2 classes in the spring semester, the required courses, then take 1 or 2 classes during the summer, you're again at 6 credits on average per semester. So you really have to average the 6 credits per semester. Usually students are good at managing the workload with 2 courses per semester. Some semesters are a little harder. When you take statistics and research methods, that's a little tougher, but 2 courses are still manageable. 3 courses are perfect. If you can take 3 courses per semester, then, which requires, of course, in our case, to come to campus, although right now we're virtual. We don't know what's going to happen in the fall semester, we'll see. But we're commuting basically just simply from one Zoom link to another right now. But what I'm trying to say is that you're commuting to Brooklyn College 3 evenings in a row, or not 3 evenings per week if you're taking 3 classes per semester. If you're taking 2, then it's only 2 evenings, and then you would be taking a winter intersession or a summer class. So that's my advice, to do definitely the 2 courses per semester minimum. I do not recommend taking only 1 course per semester, because that means that it will take you 6 years to finish. And that's very, very painful. And I know it's a big chunk of money that you need to shell out every semester, but at the same time, it's much more worthwhile to get everything done in a shorter period of time, because employers will also look at that. How long have you taken to finish your degree? So it's highly recommended to do the accelerated, it's not an accelerated version. 4 semesters is really the regular version. We don't have an accelerated version. But that's possible to be successful and to be done in 2 years with 2 courses per semester, plus intersession in summer.
Okay, so Grace was asking, where do you advise I take 12 credits if I already graduated in the year 2000? I live in Park Slope. I guess now nobody really cares about where you live. Everything is online.
Well, right now, yeah. Except in the fall, we don't know.
Right.
Now,
but,
technically, go ahead.
Well, Grace she needs 12 credits of undergraduate courses to apply. So it sounds to me that you are thinking about the winter intersession and the spring semester. So if you take courses during both sections, you should be fine. By the time, by summer, you maybe even including the summer, you should have enough credits to apply. In terms of where to take it, I think Brooklyn College is really nice and with affordable, tuition and large selections of the courses. And also it will get you, maybe you get opportunity to interact with the faculty members earlier, even before you enter the program. In terms of how you do that, I mean, Buzzy, do you want to say something about how to take courses non-matriculated, right? It's not.
Well, I think I think the technical word is non-degree.
Non-degree, sorry.
That is to say, you would, I'm not sure what it would be like on the admission side, but I think if you provided proof of your bachelor's degree, you could apply to Brooklyn College to take courses non-degree. And once you were in the system, you could then register for those courses. And I think Brooklyn College is all geared up to offer practically all of its courses online during winter session and spring and summer
For now.
for now.
Chelsea asking, how much or what kind of research experience would a PhD program look for from an undergraduate student? I guess it really depends on the program and really depends on the area. For example, from my personal experience, I have been on the admission committee for a PhD program in brain and cognition here years ago, and also at the graduate center of the CUNY Graduate Center for the neuroscience PhD program. It really we're not really looking at whether the student has a master's degree or undergraduate bachelor degree. More importantly, we're looking at the potential of the student as a future researcher, because PhD is for research, period. So you're going to have to demonstrate that you have the potential to do research successfully in the future. So it doesn't matter whether you get only a BA degree or a master degree. What you should have in the application is to demonstrate that either you gather some significant amount of the research experience. That's always a good sign to show that you're really serious about research and you already have a taste of what research feel like and you really want it. Or of course, high GPA, GRE scores, those are usually required for all of the programs. But on top of that, certain amount of the research experience that can be reflected in either publication, that's the best. For most undergraduate students, co-authorship is good enough. It's already very, very good. Or if not a publication, maybe a poster presentation at a conference with your name on it. The first authorship would be the perfect one, that's better, but sometimes it can be co-authorship. And if you do have that, usually you don't have problems getting recommendation letters from the professor you work with, right? So then we would read the letter, we can know for more in-depth knowledge about how much of the contribution you did. For example, you said you did something for that poster, and the professor would comment on that, right? So what kind of contribution, how much of the contribution you put in there. And they do comment on a lot of different skills you have, research related and also professional skills, the work ethics, your writing skills, your critical thinking. So a lot of dimensions, we get that information. So the admission committee would get a sense about how likely that you will be successful in this PhD program. So if you definitely have to ask how much of the amount of the research experience you have, I cannot give you that number. But usually we will see 1 semester is a minimum that in terms of the time. But of course, the quality would be different, right? Not everyone spending 1 semester in a lab can produce a poster or even better, a publication.
I think you skipped past Janine Mercurio's question, which came right before Chelsea's.
It's already the same question she was asking about PhD versus a master degree. I think.
No. Before that, Janine, she has a master's in education and has taken statistics and research methods there.
Right. So her question is, should I apply PhD versus master?
Oh, I thought she was. Okay, never mind.
So Roberto, is it worth it for me to get a master's in IO in HR, even though I'm not working in the field?
So I'm not sure what you mean. applicants do not necessarily work in the field. The goal is that they will work in the field at some point. So if you're currently not working in the field, but you would like to work in the field, then yes. If you don't want to work in the field, then that's not the degree for you. This is not a degree that is transferable to lots of other things. It's really a very specific professional degree that gives you the skills and the information and the knowledge to solve problems in organizations of a very specific kind. If you're interested in different kinds of fields, then probably a different degree would be better for you. So I'm not really sure whether you mean that, and I don't know if you wanted to explain and clarify a little bit. But we have some students who are already professionals in the field, but that's not the majority. We have quite a few who are, we had just these past few years, we had several teachers, but who wanted to go into IO psychology. We had doormen, several who are now in IO psychology who got jobs in the field. We had people in retail who are now in very high up in organizations and doing training and development. We have some who have been doing training and development for a very long time, but they wanted the master's degree. So there is not one path to the degree, and it's not a requirement to be already in the field to get the degree. I hope that answers your question.
Michelle here, for the experimental psych program, how many days a week would there typically be daytime classes? Would working at the same time be feasible? To answer your question, usually we would arrange the classes during the daytime for 2 days maximum, meaning that we try to squeeze in most of the courses, or if not all, into 2 whole days, so that students would have an additional, the other remaining 3 days of the week, either working in the lab on their research project or maybe part-time jobs. Occasionally we have more than 2 days, but usually 2 to 3 days, that's the days of the week that will have classes. So working part-time would totally feasible be, okay? Grace, also, would Coursera classes qualify with certificate upon completion for those credits? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. We strongly prefer a 4-year college for those undergraduate courses.
I think that's all.
Okay.
Are there any more questions? No.
Anything else?
Roberto here. I used to be an HR coordinator and I loved it. And I really wanted to make a career out of it. But COVID happened and my position got terminated. That's why I was asking that question. But I'm glad I don't need to work in the field to get a master's.
You have worked in the field. If you were already an HR coordinator, then that's your field experience. That is great. That's wonderful. So if you're not currently employed, we will not hold this against you, because this is a totally messed up situation for everyone. And really going and getting a degree, if you're really enjoying doing this, that's perfect. Absolutely perfect. In your statement, if you have any kind of related experience with regard to HR or with regard to organizational behavior, anything that has to do with IO, write about it in your statement. Write about what you enjoyed about the job and how you see yourself in the future with this degree and with the additional knowledge and expertise that you will gain in the program. So this is really, you're coming from a good place. If you have already the work experience, then that's really nothing to sneeze at. That's great.
So Grace had the follow-up question. Even though Coursera courses are taught by four-year colleges like Yale, Duke, etc., sorry, I don't think that would work.
So I'm not, I mean, I would have to dig into this. We never really
I
had
suppose what might be a middling position would be you'd have to, it'd be good to try to get a copy of the syllabus and forward it to us so that we could get a sense of what was being covered. I don't know if that would be helpful.
Yeah,
Because some,
I would say at least the research method and statistics courses should be through a different, I have to admit that I don't really understand the concept of Coursera. And